Wow, what am I doing? Right now, in 3D, you may see particles floating in front of that bow, but right now they're floating in my room this far from that screen, and I can reach out with my hand, and those particles are just falling into my hand, and I've got to be 10 feet from that screen. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Ghosts of the Abyss in 3D. This is 6.8 on Internet Movie Database. This is 80% critics approval score on Rotten Tomatoes, 67% audience approval score on Rotten Tomatoes, a 1-hour film, a 1.78 to 1 aspect ratio. This was released in 2003. This is directed by James Cameron and stars Bill Paxton. Now, I have already reviewed this. As a matter of fact, this was my very first review ever. My very first review. And let me tell you how I got here right now, how I got here. I've been having some back issues lately, and I cannot sit for 2 hours and 2.5 hours and watch a movie. That's why I've kind of been away for a little while. And so I said, well, let me dig up some old, documentaries and see what I can come up with. And I said, you know what, let me do the first one I ever done, and the first movie I ever reviewed in 3D, Ghosts of the Abyss. Let me do that. Let me rewatch it. Let me do it. And it was Father's Day, June 17th, 18th, I think it was, 18th. And I'm getting ready to review it, and then you know what happened. There was the tragedy that struck. And I thought it was in poor taste to go ahead and release this during all that, or go ahead and create this review. I'd watched it, I was getting ready to do it, I was all excited, and then that tragedy happened. And like I said, I thought it was in poor taste, and I think time has passed enough now that I can go ahead with this, which I've always wanted to do. I've been wanting to do this. There's enough videos out there on the tragedy of the Titan. If you want to go watch that, go watch that. This has nothing to do with it. And there's enough poor taste videos out there on that tragedy. God rest their souls. So I don't want to get into that. I do want to talk about this movie, and I may bring up a little bit about that sub, because let me tell you something. This was done in 2001. James Cameron and Bill Paxton go back to the Titanic, and with 3D cameras. This is in 3D, and it is an absolute incredible experience. The difference between the technology, I didn't want to talk about it, but in 2001, when James Cameron went down, the technology of these Russian subs that he went down with is absolutely mind-boggling. And it's 22 years ago. The technology in this sub is absolutely mind-boggling. And then when you look at the tragedy that happened, and you look at it, it's almost as if it's just a shell of technology. But that's about all I want to say about that. These Russian subs are absolutely incredible. They go down at least 5 or 6 times. I mean, they take you inside the Titanic. They go down, and listen, this is what they do. They got different ships. They got motherships. They've got a ship that sends down what they call the Medusa. And it's a candelabra of lights, and this thing's coming 2.5 miles on a cable. The Medusa goes down, and poof, lights up the Titanic, right? Before they even go down in their subs, before they even go in their submersibles, before they even go down. They got this thing down there 2.5 miles on a cable, and it's lighting up the Titanic. Bill Paxton's got some angst about going. You can feel his anxiety about going down. And, they put him in the sub. He didn't sleep the whole night before. Made out a will, because that's what you do. You make out a will in your last words, and you do all those things that you're supposed to do. And he gets in the sub, and you just feel the anxiety. This is a 12-hour ordeal going down to this Titanic. 12 hours. They bring sandwiches, and they got a pee bottle. And they're in a sphere, and it's about a 5-foot diameter. There's 3 guys in there, and the electronics and everything that's in there is amazing. Bill Paxton on the way down says, I heard that if things go wrong, we can jettison the battery and we'll go back up. And the guy says, yeah, but there's a language barrier because it's a Russian pilot on this sub. He goes, yeah, but I'd hate to do that because it's $250,000 for this battery. And Bill Paxton says, can I write you a check? You know, he's got a little bit of humor there, but you can feel his anxiety. And then when they hit the bottom, and they see the bottom, and they ghost up on the Titanic, and the Medusa's lighting it up. And it's just an incredible scene. And in 3D, the 3D is absolutely amazing. I'm going to talk about the 3D here in a minute. And it's just an incredible scene. And they go around the stern, and the engines are 4 stories high. Some of the engines were 4 stories high. The propellers in the back, just shiny brass, they're still there. It's incredible what they do. And then once they get down there, they take these tiny rovers, submersibles, and they go into the Titanic. They go down into the ballroom. They go in Molly Brown's cabin. They go into the captain's cabin. You can see this bathtub that the captain took a bath in. They go into other various places of the ship, that the dining hall and everything. And what they do here is, and this is incredible, NASA does this, where they make a mosaic with all these different images, put it all together. And then what they've done then is they have actors that James Cameron hired hundreds of actors for this, and green screened. And then once they got the film back from the Titanic, he put these ghosts, these actors, and they look the same as the people that they're supposed to portray. They hired actors that look like the captain. They hired actors that look like Molly Brown. And they're running on the deck of the ship. They're shoveling coal. And while you're looking at the images of the Titanic that the rover's taken, you see ghosts, people in there shoving coal into the furnaces. You see people running on the deck, trying to get into boats. You see the band on there playing, and people sitting down and eating. And where they were sitting and eating, then you'll see what it looks like today, and you'll see what it looked like then. It really brings you there. Like Bill Paxton said, it almost feels like we shouldn't be here. And he says that it's this beautiful man-made object is 2.5 miles under the ocean, and it feels like we shouldn't be here. And there is absolutely zero remains of any humans that were ever there. They're just totally gone now, totally gone. In fact, bacteria is actually eating the ship. Let's talk about some of the extras now. You've got Echoes in Time, where he shows how he does the superimposing of with the green screen and the actors. And this woman walks out to the bow like in the movie. And this really happened in real life because she wrote about it and they have a record of it. And it just looks like she's under the deep there, walking out to the bow. And that whole Echoes in Time, by the way, the extras are only on the 2nd disc or the Blu-ray disc. They're not on the 3D disc. So you got to get the whole pack. Paxton Under Pressure talks about how he feels the pressure going down and the anxiety. Zodiac Cowboys, these are the guys that hooked these submersibles up. Look, when they went down, they're down there 12 hours. When Paxton come up, the seas were so rough, 12-foot seas when they came up. These Zodiac Cowboys, these are guys that ride on the Zodiac, which is a rubber raft. And they have to take this attachment to get the submersible out of the ocean in these 12-foot seas. Bill Paxton rode around, this thing's bobbling in 12-foot waves for 1 hour and 20 minutes, just tossed around like, he's puking his guts out, tossed around while these Zodiac Cowboys are riding this thing like a bull, hanging on, going under 12-foot waves, trying to hook this thing up to get it out. And that's the Russian team. It's an incredible amount of camaraderie here between the Russians and the Americans. The saga of Jake and Elwood, that's the little rovers that they have that go into the ships. You got Jake that goes in and Elwood, one of them gets stuck and they have to try to rescue it with the other one. I'm not going to tell you what happens. I don't want to ruin that for you. The unthinkable, while they're out there, 9/11 happened. That's how long it was. While they were out there, the Twin Towers got hit. And here they were looking at this tragedy, and then they get news of a tragedy. And everybody, and they got word from Russia and everything, letters from Russia. They played America the Beautiful for our people while they're on the boat to make them feel better. It was quite quite an emotional thing. And then you got some home movies of them, dancing and things that you don't see here in the movie. There's a song in here called Darkness, Darkness. It's a beautiful song, and it's sung by Lisa Dorbin. It's just I don't know, man, this movie really, really hits you hard when you see these people running around on the deck, when you see these people trying to get in boats, and when you realize what happened here, this tragedy that didn't have to happen. Why? Because somebody overheard the captain saying, we got to get there a day early. Actually, I think it was the owner of the boat or the guy that designed it. And he got on a life raft with only 20 people in it. But he says, we got to get there early. So they were running full steam ahead through iceberg territory with no moon, pitch black. And there was a guy up in the crow's nest. And they actually show the crow's nest down there too. That was, and then you've got this recent tragedy that cast aside all reasonable expectations of engineering, and the dang thing imploded. But anyway, so that's that. The 3D, it's absolutely incredible. The 3D is incredible. When I first reviewed this, I said there wasn't a whole lot of stickouts. Well, there is. You got this robotic arm coming out, and I talked about that first time. But it'll come out, and I don't care where you're at. You could be 10 feet from the screen. That robotic arm is going to come within 2 feet of your face. You got these particles always constantly floating around in the room. You got ropes coming into the room off of boats. People standing around. These are filmed with 3D stereoscopic cameras, so it is a little hard on the eyes. If stereoscopic 3D is hard for you to deal with, just hang in there for the first 10 minutes. It's only an hour long. And you'll get through it. You really will. It's a must-have. It's an absolute must-have. Ghosts of the Abyss in 3D. I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 for the movie and 5 out of 5 for the 3D. I think I got this, and I talked about it when I first reviewed it because I'm missing this thing here. I think I got it used, but it comes with the 3D disc here, and then the 2D disc I've got in there now, and then it comes with a DVD, which you're never going to put that in. And so that's my thoughts on that. I've been wanting to get this out. I really have. I'm going to go back to some other movies. My back's starting to feel better. But anyway, I just wanted to get something out to you. And then that tragedy happened. And unfortunately, I just thought it was in poor taste to go ahead and get that out. So what are your thoughts? Have you seen this? Have you seen this in 3D? Did you see it in 2001 in IMAX? In 2001, they had it in IMAX theater in 3D. I can't even imagine. But you get the nice full screen here. Leave some comments below if you've seen this, or if you want to see it, or what it's going to take to get back down there again. I don't know. I'll tell you what, James Cameron did it right. He really did. He knows what he's doing. He's one of the greatest explorers that ever lived. I'm telling you, he's got other depth adventures, great depth adventures. Went down to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. That's another one. I think I've already reviewed that. All right. So leave some comments below. Hit that like and subscribe button. I want you to have a good night. I'm going to have a lot more reviews coming up. I want you to stay safe, and as always, God bless.